Hello my crafty friends, this is Monica from Allsewpetite. Welcome to my channel. In this tutorial I will walk you through how to make these elf stockings. I have decorated mine with these small bells and a red cord, and I wish I had an embroidery machine so I could also embroider my name. There is a decorative fur at the top of the stocking. On one side you will also find a loop so you can hang your elf stocking, and the main compartment is fully lined. And it goes all the way down, so you can fill it with lots of goodies. This is a fun and relatively quick project, which you can make for the entire family. A free copy of the pattern can be downloaded from my blog. I will include the link to the blog post and all supplies I used in this tutorial in the description box below this video. If you want to learn how to make these elf stockings, then keep on watching. To complete the project, you will need two different colors of the external fabric. I am going to mix this red velvet fabric with this dark green corduroy fabric. For the lining, I will use this printed quilting cotton. You will also need a small piece of fur fabric. I previously used this one when I was making my gnome baskets and had some left, but if you have a fur with a shorter hair, that might be much better. Depending on the type of the fabric you are using, you might need to fuse some woven interfacing to the wrong side of the fabric, and if you are working with a lightweight or stretchy fabric, you might also prefer to use some fusible fleece. This will add a little bit of stability, so your elf stocking can hold its shape. You will also need a cord or a rope, few bells or anything else that you wish to decorate your elf stocking. You will need marking tools, snips and scissors. I will use a corner shaper today, and a seam ripper is good to have on hand in case if something goes wrong. You will need some clips or pins to hold the fabric together, and depending how you want to attach the cord to your stocking, you will need a hand needle and a thread or a multi-surface glue. Cut one top trim from the fur fabric, one loop from the external fabric or the lining fabric if you prefer, two boots from external fabric, but they must be cut as mirror images. So the easiest way is to fold the fabric right sides together, trace the pattern piece, and then cut out both pieces at once. Cut two legs from external fabric, again as mirror images, and one front lining and one back lining from the lining fabric, again as a mirror images. And lastly, also as a mirror images, cut two pieces from the fusible fleece. Take one boot and one leg piece and place them right side up to check if you have the correct pieces. When you line them up, you should have one nice smooth seam. If you have the wrong pieces, you will see that the seam is not smooth and the leg is angled in the opposite direction. So when you find the right pieces that make a smooth seam, place them right sides together and line up the straight edges. To line them up correctly, you will need to have some excess fabric on each end. Then you can clip them together. We're going to sew the seam using 1 cm seam allowance, but first prep the other pieces. Now we can open the seam allowance and press it flat. Take the fusible fleece, center it and fuse it to the wrong side of the fabric. Place both pieces right sides together, line up the seams, and then you can clip them together. When you are ready, you can sew the seam around the stocking using 1 cm seam allowance, but do not stitch the top edge. We will use it to turn the stocking right side out. Now we are going to trim the seam allowance by half. But you can leave the seam allowance as it is around the top. To make sure we have a nice and smooth seam without any puckering, you will need to make a small snips into the seam allowance around the curves. Then you can turn the stocking right side out and place it aside for later. Take the top trim, fold it in half right sides together, line up the short edges and clip them together. Now you can sew the seam using 1 cm seam allowance. Turn the fur right side out, take the stocking and line up the top edges together. I like to open the seam and place it somewhere in the middle to reduce the bulk at the side seams. We are going to base the trim around the stocking using 5 mm seam allowance. Take the lining pieces and place them right sides together. Line them up around and clip together. We are going to sew the seam using 1 cm seam allowance, but we need to leave an opening, so later we will be able to turn the finished stocking right side out. We are going to trim the seam allowance by half and then clip it around the curves the same way we've done it on the external pieces. If you open the seam allowance around the opening and press it flat, it will be easier to line it up later on. Take the loop and fold it in half wrong sides together. Now open it and bring the edges towards the crease in the center. Then press it with an iron. Now you can again fold it in half along the first crease. Then you can take it to the machine and stitch along each side about 2 mm from the edge. Separate the lining pieces where the side seam is, then fold the loop in half and align it along the finished seam. Clip it to the lining and baste it about 5 mm from the edge. Take the external part of the stocking and insert it into the lining. Line up the side seams and top edges and clip both pieces together. We are going to sew the seam using 1 cm seam allowance. Using the opening in the lining, turn the elf stocking right side out. Insert the lining into the stocking and flip the top trim away from the stocking. You can press the seam flat if you want, then go to the machine and top stitch along the finished seam. Pull the lining out from the stocking, line up the edges around the opening, and finish the seam by stitching close to the edge. The last thing to do is to decorate your stocking with a cord, bells, or whatever else you want. Congratulations! Your elf stocking is now completed. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Let me know in the comments if you want to see more videos like this one. See you next time! Stay crafty, friends!